My name is Jerry Gill. I'm interviewing John Price. Today is September the 10th, 2008. We're here in the Edmond Lowe Library in the Oklahoma State University campus. I'm a faculty member of the Oklahoma State University Library. This interview is being conducted as part of the Old State Storage Project of the Oklahoma Oral History Research Program. And today I'm interviewing John Price, former Pistol Pete Mascot, Oklahoma State University. John, first of all, just a little bit maybe kind of background. Where'd you grow up? And
I grew up in Stillwater, believe it or not. My dad was with ROTC, and we came back. He came back to Stillwater with my mom, I believe, in '64. Was on staff here with ROTC and went to Vietnam in '68. And when he came back from Vietnam, he retired from the Army, and it was, a great college town, and they had, a young to teenage kids, and thought it was a great place to stay, and we've been here ever since. So I missed all the traveling. My brothers got to do all the Army traveling, so I was at the end of that. So
now you're talking about your parents in the Marshall area, maybe, where Angie DeVoe grew up.
My grandmother on my mom's side was from Marshall, and my mom was actually born in Enid because it was the closest big town to Marshall, so they spent all their time there. So.
Well, John, can you remember your first impression of Pistol Pete when you first saw the mascot Pistol Pete?
Well, growing up in Stillwater, it was just, he was everywhere. And you get to where you love orange and you love Pistol Pete at such an early age. I remember in my fourth grade class making signs and stickers for Terry Miller, and it was just such a part of the culture. And Pistol Pete was always at the homecoming parades, and it's funny because I have such a fond memory of walk around. That was such a big deal. You look forward to it every year, and now my kids have the same. That's their favorite night of the year. So it's from a very early age. I don't know that I can necessarily pinpoint when it started. But
can you tell us a little bit about your how you got to Oklahoma State University? I mean, you're still, obviously, that's kind of the start, but your parents and your family background, history of going to OSU?
Well, actually, my mom went to OSU, and my dad went to West Point. And they met in New York City. A mutual friend introduced them because they were both living, I think, in the same apartment building. And my dad was going to graduate school at Columbia, and my mom was in New York working. And then, one thing led to another. And back when my dad retired from the Army, his family was from Tulsa. My grandfather was mayor of Tulsa back in the 30s. And so my dad had grown up in Tulsa, and my mom, even though with the Marshall connection, had really grown up in Oklahoma City. So Stillwater was halfway in between the grandparents, and just a good fit in a lot of different ways.
Can you tell us a little about your OSU experience apart from Pistol Pete? Some of the things you're involved with, some of the things you did.
Yeah, I started as a freshman in '86 and was a member of Sigma Chi fraternity. Had probably a very typical, freshman experience, fraternity experience. Made a lot of friends. Had a great time, and was still trying to figure out, who I was and what I wanted to do. And I saw an ad. It's kind of leading into how I became Pistol Pete. I saw an ad in the Ocali that said Spirit Squad tryouts, and it listed, the Palm Squad, the cheerleaders, and Pistol Pete. And I remember talking with some people in class saying, I never knew that's how they did it, that they had tryouts. I said, I'm going to go try out. They kind of, laughed or whatever. And I think 2 weeks later, I was one of the two guys who were picked. So.
Well, let me kind of pursue it. Why did you think you wanted to be Pistol Pete? What appealed to you about that?
I just, I can't really describe it other than, it was like the realization when I'm sitting there reading the paper, I was like, you know what? There's actually a person in there. It's a student. I could be Pistol Pete. I could do that. It was just, almost on a whim, really, just because I didn't believe that, I guess I was still kind of thinking that Pete wasn't a real person, under the head, that, it was that way all the time. So anyway, a little bit of curiosity, I guess, more than anything.
Well, you talking about the tryout. Can you tell us a little bit about the tryout process and what you did to prepare for it?
Yeah, the tryouts, it's basically a panel interview. They have some former Pistol Petes, and usually they might have either the sponsor of the Spirit Squad or maybe athletic director Dave Martin. Of course, is very involved with the Pistol Petes and the Spirit Squad as a whole, and they basically talk to you and put some questions to you to see what I would call ambassador you would be for the university. They also do some things, in the Pistol Pete outfits to see how you manage the head, because it's a pretty substantial costume. I mean, it's not, real. It's physically very limiting because it's so heavy and so big. But basically, just a panel interview.
What years did you serve as Pistol Pete, John?
1988 to 1990. I did 2 years.
So you had the Barry Sanders football year.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Time to be
Oh my gosh, it was. I mean, so much excitement, so much fun, and just I remember the whole. I want to say that was another year where he ran the opening kickoff back. The first play of the game, he gets the opening kickoff and runs it back, and everybody realized that we were kind of on the verge of something special. And I mean, that excitement built the entire season, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I mean, what a time to be involved with, OSU athletics. I mean, it was just something else. And such a great guy. I mean, we talked a little bit about, he's such a good fellow. I mean, just a really good guy.
You were talking about your trying your head. So could you describe a little about the Pistol Pete outfit? And obviously starting with the head and then some other things.
Well, the head is there's two versions of it. They're basically the same, and they're made of fiberglass. They're built around a frame of a hat that actually sits on your head, and they're about 45 to 50 pounds, depending on which one you're wearing. And they're just they're pretty limiting on which if you bend over too far, they will fall over. And you just have to get used to, you carry most of the weight on your shoulders. You just have to get used to kind of how to move and keep your back real straight. But I want to say, and one of the fellows might have talked about this, that they were made by a craftsman who used to work at Disneyland. And I don't know that you could replace them really with the same type of, they're really, two of a kind, but one of a kind. We just happen to have two of them. So.
What about the rest of your outfits?
Very traditional, white shirt, blue or black jeans, cowboy boots, chaps, and then I think we've also added spurs. Yeah, and the black leather vest. So, fairly traditional outfit.
Was that provided for you, John?
Yes, I'm not sure who's providing that now, but all that was provided for us at the time. At the time I did it, we went down to a store in Oklahoma City, Teeners, and they provided, they measured us and had us try stuff on and got us all outfitted. So.
What, now you get accepted, you try out with it and compete. Do they talk to you about the expectations, behavioral expectations, do's and don'ts?
Yeah. The main thing they stress, first of all, they try to get us in touch with, the person who's going to be our sponsor, whether that's the Spirit Squad sponsor, or whether at the time I was doing it, we were working really closely with Dave Martin. Dave really had a hands-on involvement at that time, and they kind of coach you through the process. They also give us the names of some former Petes that we can call to say, hey, what if this happens, or I ran into this the other day, those types of things. But during the interview, they really stress, good judgment, make the right decision, do the right thing, because you are thrown into some situations, whether it's, how to react to a crowd or, someone who's maybe giving you a little grief or something. You're constantly put in situations where you have to make, good decisions. So, and there is a certain amount of trial by fire, because I remember the very first thing I did, and there's a lot of non-OSU things you do too, just public appearances and things like that. the very first thing I did was a karate tournament. They said we're having a karate tournament at Gallagher, Iowa, and they said, could you just come by and walk in the door and wave at everybody, and since it's in our house, come by and say hello. I said okay. Well, I walk in the door and I sneak under the bleachers where we kind of had a spot where we could get our stuff on and be able to come out. And I mean, right as I walk out, right as I turn the corner and walk out, the first thing that happens is I feel somebody grab the gun, and I turn around and here's a kid in his karate outfit holding the gun. I mean, just right there, right as I got out, and I remember reaching down and taking it away from him and putting it back in the putting it back. But the crowd was just, I mean, there were kids in karate suit everywhere. I mean, there must have, I can't even tell you how many kids must have been at that place. It just got absolutely mobbed as soon as I came out from underneath the bleachers. So about 5 or 10 kids deep is so.
You talked about appearances, public appearances. Could you kind of describe what first of all, how many appearances did you make, athletic and publics, in your years you worked on average?
Between the two of us, we made over 500 appearances, and I want to say my last year I made over 300, and that's everything from the Founders Day parade in Glencoe to birthday parties to of course all of the OSU events. I mean, any grand opening of grocery store. I mean, anything that we can fit in time wise, we'll try to be at.
So you don't get a scholarship for being paid, but you get paid for your public appearances.
You can get paid for the public appearances. I don't know what the current policy was, but since we did not receive a scholarship, anything that was non-OSU related, they did allow us to charge an hourly fee and mileage on, basically just compensating for our time and effort to get there and things like that. So,
was your Pistol Pete experience anything like you thought it was going to be, John, based on your expectations going in?
Oh, I mean, from what I thought it might be to what it actually was, I mean, it was exponentially different. I mean, truly a life-changing, deal. I thought I bled orange before, but afterwards, I mean, it's just because you get, when you get the chance to meet, Frank Eaton's family, and when you understand that, I think OSU is fortunate in that our mascot has real ties to the place. I mean, there's a certain aspect of history and culture that goes along with it that I think is really unique to college mascots. So, and Pistol Pete, appears on everything from, I mean, sometimes on letterhead or, I mean, he's everywhere. So we take it very seriously.
What was a typical week like for you during school when you were Pete, and also trying to keep your grades, and what kind of schedule did you have to keep?
Well, I'd say we had, probably 5 or 6 appearances a week. So, you'd usually have maybe 2 or 3 during the week, and then game days were, huge. I mean, you'd get up first thing in the morning on game days and start making appearances because we'd go to maybe, a posse luncheon and then a reception over at, one of the banks or something like that, and then come back to campus for something on the library lawn. Game days were just kind of like a nonstop, schedule of events, one stop after the other. And we'd usually break up the football game into 2 halves. For one of us would do one half, and one of us would do the other. So,
did you ever have trouble kind of balancing those 2 lives, your Pete life and your student life?
Yeah, every once in a while, because you do get caught up in, you get so busy. You get very busy, but probably like a lot of people, I found that the more busy I got, it just forces you to be that much more organized, and you just kind of take care of business and realize this is what you do and how to get through it. So,
well, kind of go back and try to reflect on what first time you stepped out in that field. What was your feelings? What was your emotions when you first portrayed Pete in that athletic event?
It's really overwhelming because when you're down there on the field and you see all the folks up in the stands and the flags and banner and the team comes running out. You just it's pride. pride that you're able to be down there and represent the school. And again, it's just such a big part of who we are and where we come from, and kind of the culmination of up to that point, a lifetime of memories. So.
You do remember that first time you stepped out? What the event was? Not the karate, but the OSU athletic event, and your feelings?
I want to say that the first time I was at the 89er ballpark at the very end of the baseball season. We had just been picked, and we went to the 89er stadium and went to the Big 8. I think at that time it was Big 8 still, championships. So, and that was great because I want to say one of my very first events was a Bedlam baseball game, and it was a really good experience as far as to see how the OU folks reacted and how the OSU folks reacted. It was a lot of fun.
Did you ever get harassment from, I'll say, from opposing fans, whatever school?
Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, it was in good fun, and they're very, very friendly, just kind of kidding. But every once in a while, it got a little heated. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned earlier, John, about the significance of being historical. Frank Eaton, the character. How did that, in your mind, make it our mascot at Oklahoma State University different from other school mascots?
Well, I think just the personal connection and the sense of responsibility to portray somebody in a positive light, and not just who he was, but also, cowboys and folks in general, from that, hardworking, honest, the whole kind of cowboy American folklore that goes into it. I think there's a real responsibility to portray that accurately and to do it justice.
In your mind, how does Pistol Pete kind of represent the spirit of Oklahoma State University in the state of Oklahoma?
I think in the fact that well, let's think about that. That's a good question. Absolutely. Standing up for what you believe in, perseverance, all those things, factor into it. All the things that you hear about from the Old West and from the settlers, all the things they had to overcome, and just standing up and when things are good or bad, you're there. You keep going.
Yeah, from your conversation on the family and knowing about Frank Eaton, are certain characteristics of Frank that you try to portray, when you repeat?
Yeah. We try to have a certain walk,
Swagger.
A little swagger, and be very animated, and always put that hand out there to shake somebody's hand or pat a child on the head, and just be a lot like one of the things I take great pride in at OSU is I think this is absolutely one of the friendliest campuses I've ever been to. And I think Pete, when you see Pistol Pete and the first thing he does is put out his hand, I think that speaks volumes in a way. I really do, because that's what we're all about.
Can you share some particularly personal moments you recall that were special to you as Pete?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Pete's always very involved in the Special Olympics, and every summer, OSU for a long time now has been the host site for the Special Olympics, and we always try to get out there as much as we can, and that is such a rewarding, experience. When the kids come up to you and embrace you, and they're triumphing in their events, and they want to celebrate, and they come up and they celebrate with you. It's just it's really rewarding. And then I've told the other Pete's this, time and time again. I had a particularly touching moment when I was Pete. I was scheduled to do a birthday party, and it was up in southern Kansas or northern Oklahoma. It was several miles away. It was a good hour and a half drive. And I got up and it was snowing, and it was not good conditions to travel in. And I thought to myself, well, do I call him or do I? I thought, well, I said, I've got about an hour. I said, I think I can make it before it really gets bad. So I went ahead and jumped in my little Honda and made the trek up the road. And I got up there and I walked in the door, and the little boy, I found out it was his birthday. When I walked in the door, he jumped up just like you would not believe. And I remember he pointed at, I believe, his grandmother and his mother. And he said, I told you he'd come. And I mean, that made it all, worthwhile right there. Because, and his mother came up to me, she goes, I was waiting for the call to cancel. And she goes, I am so, and I mean, he was fired up. That just so I mean, right there, that was enough for a lifetime for me, so.
What about sort of the flip-flop, John? Any embarrassing moments you had as a Pete you think of?
Other than
the kid pulling the gun at you.
Well, it was actually another gun-related incident. We were getting ready to score at Kansas State, and it was bitter cold up there, really, really cold. And we were just like on the 1 yard line or something like that. So of course, we fired the shotgun after we scored a touchdown, and we were getting ready to score, and I'd already kind of cocked it, and I was getting ready to put it in the air, and we fumbled the ball. We fumbled the ball, so I had to uncock it and put it back. And as I was doing that, I shot myself in the foot. And of course, the blanks, so it didn't do anything, but it left a little burn mark on my boot. But it was funny because everybody knew, why I'd done it. Because we were getting ready to score. It was a done deal, and then had to back off of it. So.
Kind of on the same thing. Sort of generally, you alluded to it, your interactions with OSU alumni and OSU fans, and particularly kids. Anything you want to kind of share about how you feel about that?
Just that they're, probably the warmest, most gracious folks you'll ever run into. I can't tell you the times I've been someplace and as Pete, where somebody, offered me a hamburger or gave me a ride or, hey, can I carry that for you? It's those little things that just, mean so much. And really, I think tells you what kind of folks we have here. So.
Well, did you feel a special sense of responsibility representing Oklahoma State as Pistol Pete?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because, you are representing so many people, campus-wide, statewide, nationwide, worldwide. It's the entire OSU family. So.
What did being Pistol Pete mean to you at the time? You recall what was the significance of it for you at that time?
At that time, I was just struck by the fact that, regardless of how many, basketball players there were, football players, cheerleaders, there were only 2 Pistol Petes, and that we had a pretty significant job we had to do, and we tried to focus on just, doing the best we could and, realizing the responsibility that we were, shouldering, and go from there.
Was there, looking back, reflecting on it now, several years later, what does it mean to you now?
Just the things it taught me about, how to talk with people, how to deal with kids, how to speak before a group, how to handle pressure, how to handle deadlines. It was just an education and an indoctrination into a lot of different things, and also gave me the chance to I feel give back to my alma mater, even though I gave back at kind of a young age in a different way. I feel that it was some type of service. So.
Maybe the opposite side of that question: how do you think fans feel about Pistol Pete?
I think there's just a unique sense of pride there because he's unlike any other college mascot, and I'd say probably one of the most recognizable. I think we have a real unique opportunity and a sense of a unique identity tied up in that mascot.
Did you ever compete in a mascot competition, Ms. Pete?
No, not really. We went to some camps, and I did ski in the Pistol Pete head, which was, looking back on it, probably not not the best idea. But I we went to outside of Boulder. There was some kind of mascot. ESPN, I think, did a mascot ski tournament to benefit the March of Dimes or something like that, and they sent us a standby airline ticket, and then we all went to I think it was Winter Park, and spent the day out there doing publicity and little ski races and things like that. And it was funny because I'm pretty sure that the Arizona State Sun Devil was a member of the ski team, because we're here. I'm trying to just kind of snowplow and get down the mountain, and that guy takes off like a rocket. I mean, just straight down So.
Might have had a little experience.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, probably not. You're not too young to think about your legacy. I mean, as a Pete, but what do you? How do you want to be remembered as Pistol Pete? How do you hope people remember you?
I just hope people remember me as a good representative and a friendly guy who tried to go to as many events as possible and spread the good news about OSU.
How's your? You alluded to it briefly earlier, but again, how did being Pistol Pete? How's it influenced your life, then and since?
I think it's affected me just in the way that I've always tried to carry myself. I think in one way or another, even still, I think of myself as a representative of OSU. No matter who I'm dealing with or in what context I'm dealing with somebody, I think I still carry that responsibility to be a good representative and do the right thing and deal with people in a certain way. So.
Did you ever, John, get introduced somewhere as a former Pete?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Does that still kind of impact you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And certain, I guess, even though it's been years ago, there's certain expectations. I mean, since
Yep.
you were a Pete,
Yep.
you must be a gun-ho guy or something
Yep.
like that.
Yeah.
Did you ever think about that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And there's still people that when I see them, they call me Pistol Pete. I mean, why? That's just kind of the way it is.
What life lessons and disciplines did you learn that you're able to take with you after being Pete?
I think it's important to believe in something, to feel good about something, and to do your best to represent that in a positive way. So.
What would you tell an OSU student who's thinking about being Pistol Pete? What would you say to them?
As far as if somebody wanted to be Pistol Pete, or I'd tell them that it's the greatest experience they could possibly have at OSU. The number of different things they'd be exposed to. I mean, there were things on campus that I didn't have any idea that they took place. Whether it was different clubs that asked us to come. I mean, you just get such a broad view of the campus that you couldn't possibly get exposed to it in another type of way as being a student. You get the whole picture, and you get to be part of it.
Would you tell them to go for it?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
John, if you could relive that experience and opportunity,
I'd still be doing it right now. Yeah, I'd still be doing it right now.
That's great. Well, is there, John, anything? I mean, it's been a great interview. Anything that you'd like to, thoughts you'd like to share with us that we maybe have some come out in our conversation?
No, just that I mean, OSU means so much to me, and I hope that that at that point in my life I was able to give back a little bit in some way, and I just think that OSU has so much to offer and has done so much more for me than I can ever really hope to repay, but I'm trying.
Anything else?
I guess got it.
Thanks. Okay.